Have you ever wondered if you could take any seed, put it in the ground, and see a tree growing there the next year? Well, it's absolutely possible, and I'm gonna run you through the steps for planting trees from seed. I'm Natalie Lucier from Waykeeper Farm and Nerdery, and I'm a huge tree nerd. So let's take a look at the steps to planting a tree from seed. The first thing you'll need is multiple seeds. Even if you only plan to have one tree growing, you wanna have as many seeds as possible because some might get taken by squirrels, or the water might wash them away, or something else might happen. So it's important to have plenty of seeds when you're starting out. Next, you'll want to create a special place for these seeds to grow. And what I like to do is mimic nature. So what I did is I created a patch in my regular garden, and what I added was a ton of compost, and then I put wood chips on top. So this to me is the important key here, because the wood chips will create an environment that mimics the woods, because there tends to be dead wood or little branches that fall over time in a forest, and that's the kind of environment we want to create for these seeds. Next, you'll want to dig a small hole for each seed. And if you're planting a lot of seeds like I did, don't worry about putting them close by because we are gonna transplant them. In terms of the depth to put them at, you want about the same height as the height of the seed itself. And dig a little bit deeper so that they're covered with an inch or two of soil. The most important thing when it comes to planting seed like this outside is to do it in the fall, because you wanna have the right cycle of winter and spring and summer to really get those dormant seeds to wake up. The great thing about winter is that it might stratify the seeds that need to be stratified. So that just means it will help break open the shells if they have those really tough shells on them. And from there, you'll have the snow melt or the rains of spring that will wake up the seed and get it growing. The most important ingredient now is patience. Because of how I planted my trees in my garden, I had already planted a ton of veggies out for the year by the time that the tree started to sprout. So I had tomatoes, I had lettuce, I had all kinds of plants inside of my garden at that point, and the trees had not come out yet. And I was like, oh, did I do this wrong? What's going on? But just have patience that nature is doing its work. So a couple of months later, by full summer and almost fall, I could really see those seedlings coming out, and they were in great shape. So the next step, once you have an established seedling like this, is to move it to the desired location. So the reason that we plant these trees in a close by area like your garden is so that you can keep a close eye on them, weed them, and then also be able to fertilize or water if that's necessary. So now it's time to move them to their permanent location, or you could pop them up and give them to a friend. So when the time comes to transplant, what you want to do is take a shovel and grab as much of the root mass as possible for that tree so that you're not going to have as much transplant shock. You'll also want to use compost in whatever new hole or area that you put this tree in, and make sure that it has as much nutrition as it can as it reestablishes in its permanent location. You'll also want to add more wood chips or mulch around the tree after you transplant it. So that's how you can grow trees from seed. So I've done it successfully for hazelnuts, pawpaws, and persimmons. This also works for apple trees, pear trees, just anything that you have seeds for that you want to try, go ahead and give it a shot. Now, the one thing I completely failed at growing was peaches, plums, and nectarines. Now, what I realized is that for those seeds, you need to crack open the outer shell of the seed before you plant those.
If you have a table vise, this is a great way to do it. Put a nut in the middle, so you want it to be perpendicular to the vise so that it's the long way that's in it, and then you just slowly tightens it until you hear a cracking sound. Wait for it. So this way it's fully open, so let's just loosen it up. There we go. Look at this. This one has 2 nuts in there.
And for the majority of other types of seeds, you don't need to worry about removing the outer shell. But for those ones, they're a little bit tougher, and you'll be waiting much longer than a few months to see those trees sprouting. So now that you know how to plant a tree from seed, it's time to learn from my gardening mistakes and see what I would have done differently in my garden. Watch this next video now.